my god. Feels like I've been asleep for fucking ever, dude. Wait.
What day is it today?
It is Saturday, September 18th, 2021.
September. Oh my oh my god. I haven't. The podcast. Fuck. Dude, I haven't posted an episode in like 3 fucking months. And everyone knows if you don't post an episode in 3 months, you have a dead fucking podcast, dude. I need to get a fucking episode out. Oh shit, dude. Where's my guess? Guess. I don't see any fucking guess. Damn it, dude. There's fucking magic. Alright. Fuck the guess. We're just gonna use the same guess we used last time. Outline, episodes. What are we doing? Video games. Alright, video games and movie shit. Cool. Alright. Alright. Whew. Alright, let's just fuck. Alright, we need an episode now. Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 37 of the Nothing to Play podcast, a mediocre podcast about video games, movies, and euthanasia. As always, it's your boy, Just-in-Time Carter. And that's right, we're back before the 3-month anniversary of disappearing off the internet. Back at it again. 3rd time on the podcast in a row, which is a new record. I got the usual suspects, Matty Martin and Troy Smith.
I don't even get a nickname, Matty Martin, but I'm just Troy Smith. That's it.
What nickname would you want?
I don't know. I'm not good at coming up with nicknames. You guys know this.
He already has a nickname. It's listed on the program. Apparently.
Yeah, it's
Troy Dizzle.
Yeah, Troy Dizzle. Yeah, it could be Troy Dizzle, or better known as the Seattle Strangler.
You're gonna have to specify which one.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of serial killers out of Seattle, apparently.
Well, it's because the weather's so nice, so they're just out all the time looking for victims.
Dude, it's been raining nonstop for 3 days, and it is amazing. It's so great. It's so phenomenal. I've missed the rain so much.
We got a slight sprinkling.
Yeah. So, dude, it's been like 3 months since the last podcast. I'm trying to even think of everything that's happened in the last 3 months. I was like, both Matt and I lost our air conditioners and had to get someone out to feel like within a week of each other. Like our air conditioners died.
The only difference is that for mine, it was over Labor Day weekend, and it was a solid 4 days of not having AC, and I had a portable AC unit.
Yeah, that's the main difference. Is Matt went without his for 4 days. I went without mine for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So.
I think when there was a heat wave here, we couldn't buy air conditioning because apparently Seattle, they're like, what? No, you don't need one. Like no store stocked them or anything. So we just bought like 87 fans and had like a wind tunnel going on, like from the outdoors. And we had like our cold shower running, and we just would have like a 3-4 fan situation blowing the cold air from the shower. Basically the same thing.
Dude, that reminds me of when me and Matt lived at the one house together, and the air conditioner went out, and it was out for a couple days because they had to get a special part to fix it. In my room, we had a styrofoam ice chest filled with ice and an oscillating fan like blowing through it to make like some shitty swamp cooler, and it was better than nothing because it was miserable upstairs because that's where all the bedrooms are, and in Arizona heat rises, so like everyone was sleeping downstairs for like 4 days because it was so fucking uncomfortable upstairs.
Yeah, I do not miss the weather in Arizona at all. That's why I've never been back.
Well, at some point, I hope to get out of this hellhole, but it's not anytime soon.
So apparently, with COVID and stuff, there's all sorts of like, hey, we'll give you $10,000 to move here, like move to Arkansas, move to Virginia, we'll give you a mountain bike and shit like that. I mean, I don't know what else Arkansas has to go for itself, but if you get $10,000, it's worth the move. I feel.
I don't know if you could pay me enough to go move to fucking Arkansas.
I forgot that was a state.
Yeah, I was like, in Arkansas, I'm pretty sure that's where like the mosquitoes are the size of like Teslas, like flying around out there. Like one of them hits your car, and then you need a new fucking windshield because it like dents it in.
What were we talking about on this podcast? The weather?
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin's well-known weather podcast. It's every 3 months.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Tune in 3 more months, and we'll talk about the weather again. But no, I actually am excited to have, because all 3 of us actually played a game that came out recently, and I actually beat it, and it's one of the, I think, handful of games I've actually beaten this year, and that's Psychonauts 2.
Hey, Justin, before we move on to Psychonauts 2, can you stop deep-throating your mic?
Me?
Yeah.
Am I deep-throating it?
I mean, you're pretty close to it, so it's really loud.
I mean, I'm not even that. I'm like 2 fists. I'm like 2 fists away from it.
You're like this far.
I'm in one, bro.
Oh my god. Charlie Brown parents.
Yeah. So that was me, mouth on the actual mic, like grating my teeth. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know where I was going to go with that. Yeah, Psychonauts 2. It's really good.
It was really good. I was really surprised because I wasn't super hyped for it, like, at all. And then, it actually came out and started getting really good reviews. So I was really surprised. I was like, all right, everyone I knew was playing it. So I was like, all right, it's on Game Pass. It's free. Like, I'll give it a spin.
Yeah,
and
that's why I think everyone was playing it. Like, I didn't pay for it. I just got it off of Game Pass.
I apparently paid for it twice because I kickstarted it, couldn't find the fucking link for the Kickstarter, and then I just was like, well, fuck it, I'll just buy it on PlayStation.
So see, out there, it's like the take a penny, leave a penny, and Matt left a copy of Psychonauts out there. Someone has to pay it. So if you play Psychonauts next, you have to buy it, pay it forward.
Yeah. But no, I played the first Psychonauts like years after it had come out, like maybe like 5-6 years ago. I tried to play the first one, and I got what I thought was like halfway through. I enjoyed it, but eventually you just shit happens, you move on. So before Psychonauts 2, I watched a YouTube playthrough of the whole first Psychonauts, which was like 8 hours long, and then I watched a playthrough of the
VR game.
Yeah, the Rhombus of Ruin, which I'm glad I didn't play. Not that I've ever owned or played a VR game, but it's like hardly a game. It's more or less you just going through a bunch of areas, like changing camera angles.
Yeah, you were doing very minute things in the game, and that's about it.
What's fucking crazy is everyone told me that you could play Psychonauts 2 and not need to know anything, and I think that's fucking wrong, because so much of the story takes place directly after the first game and Rhombus of Ruin. Like, I don't know why anyone would think that you would just pick up and play this game without at least some sort of they do a good job telling you, like, hey, here's what happened, but so much happens in those 2 games it's not covered in the little 5-minute intro.
Yeah, you don't get enough connection to the characters by just viewing the intro. I didn't play Rhombus of Ruin, and I don't even remember if I had somebody or I watched somebody play the VR game before I played Psychonauts 2, but I think you just miss out on a lot of character. I don't think Justin played the first one, so
I played the first one. I didn't beat it, but so I was one of the people relying pretty heavily on the 5-minute intro of Psychonauts 2 to like catch me up to speed with how the first one actually ended and what was going on. But I didn't feel like lost. I'm sure there was like lore and like character development stuff that probably would have made more sense had I like actually played the first two games like all the way through, but I still enjoyed the story overall, and like the level design in the game I thought was fantastic. Like every time you came to like one of those little rooms where it's like a separate like area from like the actual world where it does kind of the Ratchet and Clank thing, I thought I was impressed by it every time, and I'm like, dude, that's so cool that you can just like run in and out and it's like a completely different world in this one little room.
Yeah, I was blown away by the art design. Like absolutely every single level was just even it starts off. I don't know if we want to like literally go through every level, but the
Sure, why
dentist,
not? That's what we're talking
yeah, the
about.
dentist shit in the beginning was so nightmarish. Like I remember actually when I started the game, there was like a pre-test that was like, hey, just so you know, like you probably shouldn't play this game like if you have PTSD or like deal with depression or have a fear of dentists. And then it starts the game off, and I was so confused. I was like, is this Inception? What the hell's going on? And uh and then from like literally that point on, the art design is just fucking so insane. Like on a 10 out of 10 for me as far as the level design and art design.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, they took everything that they did right in the first game and amped all of it up, and they just really honed that really. Uh, Jess keeps calling it kind of a Tim Burton-esque art style, and like really dialed it up to 11, and it's just really really good. Um, Speaking about the dentist level, just those doors that you have to unzip, and you just hear
Yeah.
the bones cracking, and it's like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I liked that area. Like one of my favorite areas, like little moments and stuff, was in the casino when you're trying to win that couple a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you finally win him, and like, oh my god, finally a spare set of kidneys. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah. Oh,
oh
I
my
love it.
god.
When do they
Like,
start filling our unfulfilled dreams and desires? Is that like gonna be soon or?
yeah, they're like hello tax write-offs, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah, I loved too. Like I never really thought about health hair as a gamble. Like I mean, obviously capitalism's terrible, as Matt often says. But
yeah,
yeah,
I do.
moving on from the dentist level that was just creepy. The casino level was so cool too because it had those like I don't think that the design was as cool like nightmarish, but that was one of those that's when I realized that the game really is speaking on that higher level. Like if you're an adult and you're paying attention, they're talking about very real problems that people have. Like that really if you have a heart problem and you go into the hospital, it really is a gamble as to whether or not you're going to make it out. It's the thematics of the casino level really got to me.
I think in general, like, I don't think I've seen a game handle, because in the first game, like, they try to do a very early 2000s job of how to depict different mental health conditions. And don't get me wrong, all of the levels in the first game have really good subtext and they're really well thought out. But in this game, you can really tell that they did a really good job of like the little things that they do in each level kind of helping put the player in the mindset of the character that the head you're in. And I think the food prep show is a really good example of that, because it's like, yeah, the guy's got anxiety, and of course they're gonna give you a task that has a fucking timer on it. It's like that's so cool, and it's just really smart design.
Yes, sorry, my dog is going ape
Yeah, I was
shit
about to
in the
say,
background.
does your dot have anything to say on it, or one of your 4 dots?
But I did like the cooking show was one of my favorite parts too. That one was pretty funny, and then they like explode into confetti, like
Yeah,
whatever, like at the end and stuff, and like running around and having to like get all the different ingredients and stuff was really cool.
my
Like the
oh sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, grabbing the actual audience members and using them as ingredients was funny,
Yeah, I
and they're
feel like
like excited about
there
it.
was like more to that even where it was like, yeah, as we're all like, I think there was a level of that character, which I don't remember his name, but that
Compton
character,
Boole.
huh?
Compton Boole.
Oh yeah, he doesn't eat animals, and like it was like the whole point of that episode to me was like a pro veganism, which I'm pretty sure what's his name is vegan.
Tim Schafer?
Yeah, Tim Schafer. That's what I heard. And yeah, like you're sitting there, like all the judges are animals. That character loves animals, and it's letting you literally hook and eat the audience members, and it's like putting you in the shoes of like, yeah, no, like you're killing living creatures and dicing them up and boiling them and stuff. Like they don't love it, you know. I thought that was an added, like that's what I was saying, like every part of it was just an added even cooler experience the more you play it. As I went through and played a lot of the levels, and like I saw a lot of things I didn't see even the first time I played through the level.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where I'm really enjoying. I played through it, and now I'm like watching other people play through it and like seeing their reactions and catching things that I didn't see the first time. Like a lot, since we're talking about the cooking level, a lot of like the level is based around like that character's trauma of he like but 2 times killed a bunch of animals that he can hear them talking and he can hear their voices, so it's kind of like PTSD going to war thing. Like he's heard other people dying, so to speak, so like them being used as ingredients and stuff like that is kind of like oh yeah, they're happy, but it's more like there's like a stressor there, so to speak. Anyway.
No, but yeah, I mean, it was really great. I like how the art also, like, from the original, like, it still looks like the original art style, but they really crisped it up, you
For
know,
sure.
and made it
Yeah.
look really nice. So I like that they were able to still maintain that same kind of style, but bring it into 2021 and make it look nice on like a big screen.
There were
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say there's just levels, and you just go into parts of the levels, and it's like, holy shit, this is fucking gorgeous.
yeah, I was gonna say that there are 2 levels that I still can't decide whether or not it's my favorite level, and the first one is the Viking, which is Jack Black as I didn't get he's the Psyching, as I was thinking like, oh, the Psyche, like, you know, you're very base. If you tear down
Mhm.
every part about you, like your entire identity and your ego and everything, and you just get down to the Psyche, you don't know who you are or what you are. And that whole level's about building your senses and how, you know, you can't really be yourself unless you can, you know, see things and hear things and taste things and smell things, like, and you will become who you are based on the environment around you and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's Jack Black, like, which is so cool. I don't know if either of you guys played Brutal Legend, but
Yeah.
during that level there were multiple, like, I don't know, cameos or whatever, Easter eggs, let's call it, of Brutal Legends in that
Yeah.
level. Oh, it was so cool.
Yeah, I think if you clairvoyance Jack Black's character, Raz looks like the character from Brutal Legends.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I didn't even
Oh,
notice
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But like the first time you pull the violin, lightning strikes the violin, and that's what you would do every time you got a new guitar in Brutal Legend. Like you would pull it up and lightning would strike it. But yeah, no, that level was so cool, and there were like, it was so trippy, and there were multiple like mentions of like them doing acid or LSD and stuff, as it
Yeah.
looks exactly like a fucking LSD trip.
So there's like a part towards the end of the game, and it's just like a little offhanded comment. You find the van that they're in that out in the woods, and if Raz goes up to it, he's like, "Huh, there must be some skunks that live in here."
That's awesome.
I thought it was really interesting too that like so late in the game you still get power-ups. Like usually it's like by like halfway through the game you're pretty much like set, and it's like here it's like you're 80% of the way through the game and like, oh, those like mail slots that you couldn't fucking do anything
Yeah.
with the entire game. Here you go. I was like, God damn, dude. I was like, now I need to fucking go back to remember where all these little mail slots were and all the other levels to go back to try and like get those.
There were
And
multiple times I thought the game was over, and it just kept going.
I'm trying to. I think my favorite level is the alcoholic level.
That's
I
what I
don't
was
know
gonna
why.
say. I'm not sure if it's the Psychonauts episode, not even an episode level, or the alcoholic one. Like that one was so good.
Can we just say like so? I know that there's a lot of people who give a lot of shit about like forced gay romance in games, but I feel like this one was like supernatural and like it didn't feel forced at all. It felt really cute. I really liked it. It was cool.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Bug Snacks too. Is it's like it's there, but it didn't feel like it's crammed down your throat. It's like if you
Oh yeah,
you know pay attention to it and like read between it's like not, hey, I'm kiss other guys like
yeah,
openly there, but it's heavily alluded to, but it's one of those things where they're not like trying to throw it in your face the entire time, like, look, a gay protagonist
yeah.
in a game, here you go.
I
It's
totally.
not in all of our marketing
Yeah,
material.
well, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. Like, sometimes when it shows up in a show or a video game, I feel like there's it's the new token, like instead of the token black guy, you have to have the token gay person, and it's always like so stereotypical also. But yeah, this I didn't even realize that the character was gay with sighting for most, like even deep into the alcoholic level, which, oh man, like when they finally did do it, you were so sad, and you were so, at least by the time I realized it, right?
Yeah.
Like he was so depressed. You go through like 3 levels, I think, as you go into the islands, and then there's
Mhm.
like 3 different levels, and it's like the first one is how it's hereditary, and like his mom died drinking out in the garden and everything, which he's also a botanist, so he inherited things from his mother, not just the
Yeah.
positive of the botany but also the negative of the alcoholism. And then it shows he basically in the next level ruins any relationship he has with his remaining family, which was his son, who was the director of the mother lobe, and he loses his job. So at this
Mhm.
point I felt so terrible for him that when I finally realized that they were talking about him getting married to the other guy, I didn't even think about like, oh, whether or not he's gay or this is token or whatever. I was like,
Mhm.
fuck, dude, I hate like what happened to him. Like I was just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really well done.
It's crazy that like these very cartoon looking characters can be written as just really well written humans. You get what I mean? Just really well rounded people. And I think that's just so cool.
Yeah, it was like really well done. Like a lot of the side characters I thought were like really fun, especially at the school and stuff. Like the one chick who worked at the bakery and stuff with like the giant whale thing and stuff. Like she was really funny.
Yeah.
Like when she like would show up and stuff, and there was like the dialogue. Like when you go to visit her, or whatever, when she's like out where you're like talking to her and stuff. There's like a lot of like little funny like exchanges like with her and stuff that you can do, and just like a lot of the optional dialogue with a lot of the characters. I would always try to like talk to everybody to make sure I've like did all the dialogue and stuff because it was really funny to like watch.
So another moment that blew me away is we're kind of talking about all these individual levels, but the actual story itself was really cool, and it was talking about like basically Raz needs to talk to Ford, but Ford's insane, so he has to go through the therapy, to help Ford get
Mhm.
back to normal, so that he can find out. And there were 3 levels for Ford, and I thought all of them were great, but the one where he was the barber, I didn't
Yeah.
understand at first. Like they were talking about the rebellion. As you know, if you're listening and you didn't play the game and you didn't watch a playthrough, but you're very interested in what happened in that game through this podcast alone,
which is a terrible idea.
yeah,
by
I
the
don't
way.
know. Yeah, the one person that fits this criteria, is like there's all these flashbacks sort of to this war that happened with Ford's old girlfriend and what had happened, and in the barber like level, they compare peaceful protesters to lice. And I thought that that was so genius, and no one's ever done that before. As it was like, no, lice actually are the normal people that, you know, like technically if there are lice in your hair, it's not like they're an invader or anything. Like normally lice would grow in your hair, bugs normally do. And like you getting rid of them is you getting rid of the natural, you know, occupiers of the land. And so like
Yeah.
her healing all the people who were the normal, you know, citizens of whatever that fake country was. Like I don't know. I just thought that was so genius, and no one's ever like spun it that way. And like I thought it was really like
Well,
what.
yeah, and I was gonna say I didn't even pick up on the metaphor until like I started watching other people do it, and I'm like, oh, you are going through the level and you're doing the same thing that Maligula did, which is wiping out people, and you're doing the exact same thing to get through the level. You
Yeah.
have to use water to wash them away.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, it was so good. And then when you finally piece them back together, you find out that you know they were dating and everything. But what destroys you is you find out that the grandma that you love the whole time, which I mean was just introduced in this game, but you do have at least some level of connection. You find out that she's not really your grandma. That actually Maligula fucking killed your grandma, and then Ford replaced Maligula's memories with your grandma's memories or some shit like that. And the
Yeah,
person you've
she's
been
like your
loving,
great aunt. She's your great aunt.
yeah, which yeah, she killed her own sister. You know, like that. And then I thought the game was over like for a second time, and then it keeps going after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure. It's definitely be on my game of the year list. Like I know it's gonna be. I already have my number one picked, but I think it could easily be like top 3 for me on my top 10 game of the year.
Right now, it's sitting at number 1 for me. I think.
I think I want to say yes. I mean, like I haven't played a lot of games that were just released this year, but it's definitely up there for me. I'm super happy with the game. I think the only thing that I ran into is there's a little bit of jank with the controls every now and then. Like I was telling Justin, I think there was 2 times I got soft locked and I actually needed to exit the game and get back in. Yeah.
So I played it through Game Pass. I have the original Xbox, and dude, the loading times on the original Xbox, it was fucking horrible. Like just booting up the game took like 3 fucking minutes. It was like Bloodborne when it first came out on PS4, where it like took forever to load, and then going between levels and stuff, you know, would take easily like 90 plus seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it probably ran better on like a Series X, or if I was playing it on my laptop, it would have been fine. But I mean, it didn't hinder anything. Like one time the game crashed on me, like just randomly, and I was like, "Oh god damn it!" And I had to like and it wasn't even like losing the progress. That was the bitch. It was just having to like reload the game and it taking for fucking ever to get back in. But all in all, I like when the game was actually running though, I didn't have any issues with loading or anything. It was just starting and then like going between levels.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few people who have played it on next gen consoles, and it seems like the load times are non-existent.
Yeah, it's like almost instantly.
Well, one thing that I hated was like their autosave. I think there were issues with their autosave where like I would stop playing the game, like I would select a number of, let's say, collectibles, site cards, all that shit, and then I would stop the game, you know, like turn off my Xbox, and I would turn it back on, and my collectibles, I would have to go back and re-get them, you know, or
Really?
re-spend them. And like that was the biggest bother to me, is then if I wanted to stop the game, it reminded me of being a kid. And it was like, hand stop. Dinner's ready. I know my mom's yelling at me, but hand stop. I got you to the save point. It was like I didn't trust anymore that like the autosave was working. So that was the biggest problem for me.
Huh.
But also because the game looked old, I think that my mind didn't like the load times and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, this is a PS2 game. Like, you know, this is what happens. Yeah.
It just is like that.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day, waiting for it to load. You run, like refresh your drink, like grab a snack, come back, sit
Try to do a
down.
bathroom run, hurry up.
Funny enough, back in the day, whenever, back in high school, whenever I used to play WoW, traveling between cities, I used to go get on one of the Griffins, fucking start flying to whatever city I need to go make myself some ramen, and then I'd come back and continue to keep playing WoW.
Gross.
Yeah.
So what is your game? I don't know if we're moving on from Psychonauts 2. I really don't want to spoil the ends with the sweet Elijah Wood ending. But what is your game of the year, Justin?
So far, my game of the year is Loop Hero, which I don't know if you've played it or even heard of it. It's published by Devolver Digital. It's one of those games where it's like the trailer gives you some information, I guess, as like what you're doing, but it also doesn't really do the game justice. It's one of those where you kind of have to just play it, and like as you figure out what the game kind of actually entails you doing and stuff is when you're like, oh shit, and you have like a lot of like secret stuff, like where you don't know going in, like setting up certain stuff on like the board, you don't really know what you're doing, but once you figure it out and stuff, you feel like a genius. And it's one of those games where it's the perfect balance, I think, between knowing what you're doing and playing well and luck, because there's a lot of runs. The whole gimmick of the game is you're basically a little hero on a loop track, and you basically get out of the game what you put into it. So you're setting stuff up on the track for yourself so you can make it as easy or as hard as you want. But obviously, the harder you make it, like the better equipment you get, more resources you get to take back to your base to like flesh it out. And there's these bosses that you have to fight, and there's like a skull lich dude, a kind of angel chick with like mirrors and shit. And to get to them is really hard, but it's like a roguelike in a way. And you're setting up the board and stuff with vampire mansions and thickets and forests and whatever, and you're fighting monsters, and it plays by itself, and you're basically just managing your resources and equipment and stuff on the fly as it's going. But the soundtrack is banger. Like the visuals I think are gorgeous, and like the gameplay is like really smart, and it's not something I've ever seen before. And just all throughout this year I've constantly gone back and played it like over and over again, and it's like just as fun like the fifth or sixth time of me playing it as it is the first time. And I've only beaten the first boss. Like I still haven't even beaten the second boss. I've only gotten to the second boss twice, and I've gotten my ass handed to me both times, but it's still great. So
it's crazy coming to how many like roguelite loop games have been coming out recently.
But it's coming to Switch at the end of the year, and it's out on Steam and like, PC and stuff now, but I'll definitely pick it up again once it's on Switch.
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for, is waiting for it to actually hit Switch so I can play the game. In the meantime, I'll just keep playing Baba Is You.
You're like, and just banging your head against the fucking Switch screen, wondering like why you can't figure the puzzle out.
I don't think anyone else. Is anyone on this podcast gonna play that to some sort of completion? Because I want to share something really cool that I ran into.
I mean, you can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you get to. So you're doing. Troy, are you familiar with the game?
Never heard of it.
Okay, so to put it in perspective, so it's a puzzle game. You're pushing stuff around, and you've got certain rules that are going on. And all of these rules are spelt out on the screen as actual words. The gimmick of the game is that so you've got something called like it says Baba is and then you. So you're Baba, which is a little sheep. And you could go and move that around,
Bah.
and then you can move it around, and you'll have like rock is push, so you can push the rock around because it is. If you take the push away and it just says rock is, you can't move the rock around anymore. But if you go and take the rock, the word rock, and you go and push it over to and make rock is you, then you can move around the rock as yourself.
Oh,
And the
so
whole objective of
that's so cool.
the whole objective of every level is to create something that says something is win. So in the beginning levels, you've got flag is win, and you just have to overlap the flag, and then you win the level. But the game gets incredibly twisty. It's probably one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. But you get to a certain point in the game where it's like, oh, cool, you're just going and solving all these levels. And then there's eventually a couple levels that show up on the overworld. And it says, like, level is, say, weak. And if you create that word, then the whole level disappears and it fucking breaks. But if you can go and change the level to Baba, and then it takes you out of the level, and then Baba's on the main overworld screen, and you move around as the character now. And so there's like a whole lot of really crazy ass meta stuff in the game, and it's really good. So if you feel like beating your head against the wall for a little bit, I'd recommend checking it out.
Yeah, no, it's a very smart game, and it's one of those where when you beat a level, you feel like a fucking 500 IQ fucking genius, and then the other half of the time, you're like sitting there like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And like certain levels, like it's like, and that's the funny thing is like there's some where it's like the solution's like right in front of your face, and it's like you just can't see it. And then there's levels that are similar to other levels, and it's like, oh, it's like it's the exact same level, but now we've like switched this one thing, and it's like a completely different level now. And it's like you can't beat it the same way, and now you're like, well, fuck, dude, like how do I even do this now? Because now it's completely different, but it's the same at the same time.
There's literally been some levels, I'll have it up on the TV, and me and Jess just one night we're just sitting there staring at it, and we're like, okay, well, what if we do this? And we spent like a half hour on one level one time. And then, keep in mind that's later on in the game, and you don't have to clear all the hard levels. There's like a certain amount of levels you can beat in a world, and then you've cleared the world from that point on. So you can pick and choose which ones you want to do if you're getting stuck on one, so you don't have to like try and brute force your way through each level. But it's really good. It's really fucking smart. And like sometimes I just get on a roll where I'm just like, man, I want to be done with this game, but like I just solved this one, so I bet I could beat the next one.
Yeah, it's like one of those where I go back every once in a while and like boot it up and try and beat a level or two, and then I'm like, all right, like I'm done with this for a while, and then we'll go back and revisit it again, because I think I've gotten all the way up to what is it, like World 5 or Chapter like whatever, and yeah, it's pretty funny. Just like you're like, oh, like Chapter 2, like I'll go back and beat maybe this like little extra level in Chapter 2 I didn't do. And it's like, even for Chapter 2, I'm like, fuck, this is hard, dude. Like, I don't even know where to begin. And there's just a lot of manipulating objects and stuff. And it's, like, pretty funny, like, some of the stuff you'll try and do. Because, like, you moving will cause other stuff to move. And then, so you'll have to try and, like, time it out and stuff to where this thing's going to collide with this thing at this specific time to push this from, like, whatever is you to this is you, to so then you switch places with the object and stuff to be able to manipulate stuff on this side of the screen. And it's just
long story short, it's really good, Troy. You should check it out.
Yeah,
whenever you're not reading your entire backlog of comics.
Oh my god, dude. What was it, the past week I went to the helmet shop? I haven't in like 3 months. I bought a short box, and there were more helmets than could fit in the short box. Let me put it that way. And that was me after telling him flat out, like 1/3 of my pull list, I can't buy these. Like I have to stop this, you know? So, and basically for a week, I've just been like hardcore reading everything I can. and then I didn't have space. So then I took a whole long box of my stuff that I don't care if I have it anymore, and I went to Half Price Books and sold it for $30. Because that's how it is. $1,000 worth of helmets, $30 seems like a fair trade to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is taking up a lot of my time. But yeah, when I said there's a lot of loop games, I've realized like that's what all I've been playing lately. Like I played 12 minutes, which was a loop game. I just bought Deathloop, which is a loop game. Returnal is a loop game. Hades last year, which was my game of the year, was a loop game. Like that is weird to me that it seems like that's the genre of 2020s. Like
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that you're saying it out loud and listing them off, yeah, I definitely do see that.
I mean, at least for me, that's all I've been playing lately.
It's because 2020 is the year of you want to be anywhere but here.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I saw Steph told me like something that was like, how can we be convinced? Like, why would anyone want to watch The Matrix 4? Everyone wants to return back to 1999. Like, yeah, you're telling me I could plug into a machine and I'm back in the old days? Fuck yeah.
Do it. Make it happen.
I saw this one like shitty meme comic where it was like going to go see Matrix in the theater in like the early 2000s, and it was like a bunch of like chubby like weeb dudes in trench coats and stuff, and they were like 2 Matrix tickets please, and it says going to go see Matrix 4 in 2021, and it was those same weeb dudes but they had cat ears and like were wearing like makeup shit, and they were like 2 tickets to Matrix please.
Jesus.
That's so funny.
I just don't understand why WB is fine with losing billions of dollars off of Matrix 4.
Tanner, shut up.
Oh, man.
Dude, so wait, did you watch God, what's the fucking HBO movie that just came out? It's the horror one, Malignant.
No, I haven't. So many people have told me that it's a good movie. Like, I really want to. I haven't had the time, honestly, to sit down and just watch a movie. Like, been in the mood to sit down and watch a movie.
Yeah, I get that, dude. So I went in with 0 expectations. The only sort of trailer thing I saw for it was just whatever. Like, since I have Hulu with ads, is whatever Hulu showed me of it. And I was like, all right, it looks like a pretty basic ass like horror movie or whatever, but it's made by, basically the it guy in horror for like the last like 20 years, since it's the father of Saw and The Conjuring and Insidious and whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And it starts off as like the most basic shit ever, just shot really well. But dude, like the last half hour of that movie is B-movie batshit insane. Like, it's never been done in a horror movie before, and it was like absolutely fucking wild. And I was like, dude, it's worth it alone just to get to the big reveal in the last half hour of the movie.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. And then I also watched
Do you not like horror movies?
Matt doesn't know.
Yeah, no, it's not
like
my
I said,
thing.
I'll take your word for it. I was like, oh, so you have no interest.
But that's the
all.
thing, though, is too like I honestly think Matt could watch it because it's not a real horror movie. Like I mean, that's what it's marketed as and everything. But really, it pays like homage to kind of like the late '70s, like early '80s kind of horror, like Jeepers Creepers and stuff like that. But it's more of like a 2 police officers trying to work a case sort of movie than it is like a horror movie.
So more of a thriller movie?
Yeah, it's more of like a thriller, like trying to figure out what is actually happening in the movie.
Okay, I'm back in then.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of The Conjuring, honestly. Like, yeah, it's a horror movie for sure, but I thought it was more like, paying homage to all the poltergeist, all the, what's the word? When it always like haunts someone. I don't know, whatever. Those
Possession?
movies. Possession, yeah. It's like an homage to all those Possession movies. Like, I was like, man,
See,
really
like
cool.
a ghost haunting someone or something. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Those haunted people movies. I don't know. James Wan would know. I don't know.
You know, the one Bruce Willis, he's
It's-
kind of dead the entire time, and his
Yeah,
wife, she's
I don't
sad.
know. What's so
The
weird is
Last
that
Airbender.
I just pulled up James Wan's IMDb as I thought that was really weird, right? Because like, oh yeah, he has done like Saw and Conjuring and Insidious and like all and Malignant, and then you know everyone already knows Aquaman, which I'm very excited for the second version. But I see
We
on
all
here,
know Troy.
I see, yeah, if it's DC, I'm gonna all over it. But he also did MacGyver the TV series episode 1, the 2016 MacGyver show. So the man has
Weird.
range, you know.
Yeah, he's not just limiting himself to one genre of media. All right.
Yeah.
Dude, what's funny is I was thinking of this the other day, and I thought it was like an interesting topic, and I kind of wanted to know what both of you thought. So the new Wario Ware game came out on Switch. I didn't get it though. I played the demo and I thought it was okay, but I was like, dude, I don't really like know if I want to like even buy this or even buy it like at full price, like maybe when it's on sale. But then at the same time, I felt really bad because I love the WarioWare games, and I'm like, but by me buying it, it's like it's me supporting it so that they make more, because I want them to make a better WarioWare game than this. But it's like, have you ever felt that about like another where you want to support it? So Troy bought the Avengers game, so I know he'll fucking buy anything.
Yeah, that was the worst
But-
waste of money in the
But I'm like,
entire
to
world.
support it, even though you know going into it, you're not going to particularly be thrilled with your purchase, but you're supporting it because you're hoping for them to continue to, the company to continue supporting it to make more of that franchise.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I have done that. I can't think of an example right now because I hope Square Enix fucking dies and it was bankrupt for that Avengers game. But no,
It's okay. Insomniac's just going to make better ones.
God, the saviors of our time. All right, let's be honest. But yeah, we had talked about Wolverine later. But no, what was it? I can't think of an actual thing right now, but I have been in those exact same shoes where it's like I don't mind giving you the money because I want to support you as a company more than support the actual product I'm providing the money for. I saw WarioWare and like I know people were praising it, but I thought it looked terrible. Personally, I thought like really, really low budget Mario Party, and I guess that's what WarioWare's games usually are. But this looked
Yep.
like a step backwards from even the previous ones. You know?
So that's my problem. So my biggest gripe with it is that WarioWare Smooth Moves on the Switch is like my absolute favorite in the series, and it uses the Wiimote really fun in a bunch of different ways. It's like a good party game. It's like a good drinking game. But each WarioWare game kind of has that gimmick. Like the Game Boy Advance one, Twisted, you twist the Game Boy Advance, whatever, to do the mini games. Touched on the DS, you use the stylus, whatever, and like
You
would
scratch
hold
the shit out of her DS.
Yeah, you scratch the shit. You don't have the stylus anymore, so you're just like using your fucking fingernail or whatever you can find on the ground. But each WarioWare game kind of has that gimmick, and that each one has the weird factor and like the fun and stuff. But this one, I was like, oh, dude, on the Switch, they can do so much with the Switch controller, and they'll be similar to Touch and stuff, and they can do like like with Ring Fit or something where it's like, it's strapped to your leg or in your pocket or something to do running, and then hold it with the gyroscope shit, do like the different, like that's one of the few games where Nintendo forces the gyroscope fucking bullshit in like all their games. I'm like, but this is the one that would actually work. Like, I don't need it in Zelda, I don't need it in fucking Odyssey, like whatever, but I want it in this. And then this was the one where they're like, well, instead we're gonna have it so you never have to detach the Joy-Cons, and instead of moving in really weird positions, whatever, you're just going to use the Joy-Cons, and you're going to use these like 16 characters from the WarioWare series, and all of them play about the same, but there's some that definitely play better than others, so you're going to want those characters more because the other ones suck. And then I'm just kind of like, all right, like the games were fun, but I was just like, dude, I really wanted like each of the characters plays very similar, and it's like it's not that fun in
It's
terms
really
of like what came before.
it's really weird because you would think that they would do basically what they did for the Switch Mario Party, because all of those mini games, or at least a good chunk of them, use the fucking Joy-Cons in cool, weird ways, and they didn't do it at all for the WarioWare game for whatever reason. But to go back to your original question, yes, Justin, that's what being a Nintendo fan is like.
But I can't think like what's another Nintendo friend like where the game's a flop, but you're buying it anyway to support it.
I could think of a few Metroid games.
Like
I'm excited for Dread. And that's coming out
Well,
like, in a month,
well,
right?
Dread is going to be good. I do think Dread is going to be good.
Well, Dread looks like I can't think of like I mean, obviously Hunters for the DS like wasn't good, but that was also like a launch. Like, well, it wasn't even a launch. It was the demo was a launch with the original DS.
Other M, Federation Force. I can name a bunch of really shitty Metroid games. I didn't buy any of them, but I know.
So that's what I'm saying is neither did I. So it's like I didn't
But-
fucking support it.
But here's the problem: is that it's like a fucking catch-22 with Nintendo. It's like, okay, either you put up with whatever shit Nintendo wants to feed you that day, and it might be really bad, but you're gonna scarf it down, because if you don't get any more.
But see, that's also not true though, because we are getting more Metroid, and we're getting better Metroid, and we're
But
getting
how long-
Prime 4.
But how long
eventually.
did that take?
Yeah, but I don't think that has any. That has to do, I think, with just the Metroidvania genre as a whole, and Nintendo feeling like it's a dead genre, even though for the past 15 years, indies have proved and succeeded in it far better than any like Metroidvania Nintendo's really put out in the past 15 years. And Konami straight up gave up on Castlevania at this point. They're just releasing the Game Boy Advance games and NES games and shit on Switch again just to collect what they can to fix pachinko machines. But I mean, I do agree. Like Metroid, I think is probably like one of those. I guess I just didn't really count it because the releases of Metroid are so few and far between. But it's
Well,
like, you know,
It's just like Nintendo does that kind of shit all the time, though. It's just not with a whole game. It's like their shit eShop on the Switch. That fucking sucks. The online support for most of their games. What else could I point at?
but we just got a Switch update to get Bluetooth headphones, Matt. What more do you want?
There we go. That's the really low bar that it takes to be a Nintendo fan. And I say that as a diehard Nintendo fan.
Matt's
Troy, do you
like-
have something to say?
No, I'm letting you guys run your horse. Basically, I mean, I'm a PlayStation fan, and I thankfully was able to buy one. So, I mean, you guys are complaining about the system that you at least can buy, you know?
You're absolutely right. I would love to purchase a PS5 because I would have played Psychonauts on that, but or play Deathloop. But guess what? I'm not playing that until I can get my hands on a PS5.
Which it doesn't sound like that's happening like anytime soon at all.
I did hear some good news that scalpers had to lower all of their prices 30% because nobody's fucking buying their shit.
So I actually did see that like theoretically, if you wanted to spend $800, you could buy one right now if you wanted to.
Yeah,
because
I don't.
there's so many scalpers just sitting there with them and no one's buying them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I even went
They're
on.
like-
I went on Amazon the other day and there was like dozens, but they're all sitting at $900.
There are landlords like asking for rent, and they're like, "Here's 3 PS5s, man." Like,
Well,
it's hard out there.
So what's funny is, I'm assuming neither of you guys went to PAX this year. Obviously, you wouldn't. Because what human being would think going to a convention right now would be a smart idea, right?
People in Phoenix.
Yeah, even though Troy went to fucking Seattle Comic-Con.
Wait, hold on. No, all right, hold on. We'll get into that in a second.
Oh!
No, because you don't know what you're talking about, all right?
Okay. Please teach me, senpai.
All right. The Seattle Comic Con is in December. Is a huge thing where there's like thousands upon thousands, like 100,000 people. Yo, I went to some fucking bumfuck middle of nowhere wallop. It was like airport hangar where they had a maximum of like 500 people there. All right, and they had somehow like some of the most iconic comic book artists of all time, like Peter David and the guy who wrote Infinity Gauntlet, and the fun Chris Claremont, who wrote the X-Men for like 30 years, and every single thing you'd ever want for the X-Men, he wrote it. And like there was no line at all. It's like 20 people in line for any of these people. So no, I didn't go to a giant comic book convention in the heart of downtown, Seattle, okay? The reason why I brought up past is because the people who are scalping shit annoy me the most. Out of any human being that commits any crime, I would prefer a murderer than someone who scalps tickets. All right, let me be honest. And so many people I know, well, I don't like know them, but I had seen people buying pass tickets because when pass goes on sale, people immediately buy them so they could resell the tickets at an insane price. And so many people bought those pass tickets, and then pass was like, no refunds, fuck you, and no one went to pass. And those people had to eat all those tickets that they weren't able to return, and it felt like justice.
That's so. I will say one thing about San Diego Comic-Con. God rest its soul, because we haven't been in years. They at least found a way to fucking cut down on scalpers, because you have to show your fucking ID, and like it's all like you have to be the person who is getting into the convention in order to pick up your badge. So there's no way to scalp tickets for Comic-Con.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
a pain in the ass, but it also is clever. But it's one of those things where, yeah, there's no scalping either, because in 5 minutes when they go on sale, they're gone. And then your name's attached to them. It's like that one dude who bought that on like Groupon or whatever it was, that like trip around the world fucking thing, like at an insane price, and then his fiance or whatever left him, so he had to find some chick that had the exact same name as her, and he took her on the trip around the world because he couldn't return the tickets.
That's
And
amazing,
they
actually.
didn't date or anything, and she's like, yeah, it was fun. I mean, we like took a hot air balloon like shit around the world. It's like I got to go basically for free because I had this name and he couldn't return the tickets.
God damn.
I'm pretty sure they boned.
You're like, dude, for tickets around the world, Troy's like, I'd suck a dick.
Yeah, I mean, at least one time, give the man a hand job at least once on that hot air
like,
balloon.
Toss the guy a bone.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, you're like,
literally.
3 or 4 scotches in me, I'll toss a coin to the Witcher.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of that, did CD Projekt Red still can't fucking get Cyberpunk? Like,
Dude,
they've
it's
updated
crazy.
it like
They
4
were-
times and everyone still hates it.
They were on top of the world. Like, I don't know what. Like, yeah, it goes to show that in maybe it's just the gaming community, but I think like a lot of nerd entertainment industries, you release one flop and you are dead to people.
That's probably why Bethesda has just been re-releasing Skyrim for the last 10 years.
Yeah, they don't want to come out with a new Skyrim, even though everyone wants it. They're not going to come out with one because it's easier for people to want. It's the J.J. Abrams. No one wants the answer. People want the mystery of what it could be. No one wants to know that they're, let them stay in purgatory.
Nobody wants to know that the Emperor's back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like when they released Fallout 4 and everyone's like, this sucks. And then they're like, okay, well, here's 76. And they're like, man, Fallout 4 was actually pretty good.
What's funny is Stephanie just downloaded Fallout 4 and was playing through it and loves it. And I still have a free copy of 76 and I've never even started it.
Jesus. Justin, did you ever watch Shang-Chi yet?
No.
What? You didn't?
I haven't gone to the theater. Like, I have not gone to a theater in years.
You haven't
And it's like-
downloaded a ham version?
I tried. The only place I could find a cam of it was on the Pirate Bay, God bless its soul. But it was so fucking shitty. It looks like it was recorded with like a Motorola Razr. And I'm like, nah, dude, I'm good. Like, I'll wait the fucking month for it to be on Disney Plus.
Honestly, that's probably the smart idea because it is a very good-looking movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's one of those where, and like I said, it has, like, I feel like the one movie that's gonna finally like break me, and I'm gonna be like, all right, like I need to see this as soon as possible, is gonna be Spider-Man, because there will be like spoilers for that shit. Like, no one's spoiling Shang-Chi online.
They've been spoiling fucking Spider-Man for the past 8 months. Like,
yes, okay, I know, but I mean, like, it's like Game of Thrones, where it's like Game of Thrones comes out Sunday, you do not go on Facebook Sunday night, and you do not go on Facebook Monday morning until you've watched Game of Thrones, and then you're like, all right, and then you go on, unless you want, because that's the other half. Even if people don't spoil it, they're either gonna be like, oh, dude, this shit was so awesome, or they're gonna be like, oh, I was kind of disappointed, and then you take that with you when you go to watch it, and it's like, I don't even want that. Because I don't want to know if people thought it was like 10 out of 10 IGN, or if they're like, oh, like it was all this build up and it didn't really deliver.
There's so many people that think that they're not spoiling something, and it's like, no, you're changing my expectations, which now it will change my experience. To me, that is spoiling. But yeah, spoiler free. Shang-Chi was pretty awesome, and that time that they brought back Robert Downey Jr. for the cameo was so cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm honestly really surprised that you walked away from it liking it, Troy, because, I mean, I'm also surprised that I walked away from it liking it, because those trailers sucked ass.
They were terribly edited, and I went into it with minimum as... The only reason I even went to the movies is everyone kept saying how good it was. Like, and that's my rule. If 3 people who don't know each other or have no affiliation tell me I need to see something, then I have to go see it, you know? Like, and I was really happy. Like, I was almost done with Marvel. I for some reason I had not yet hyped for Spider-Man. I thought that WandaVision and Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier were okay at best, you know? Like, I thought Loki was the best one, but even that, like, the ending of every single one of those shows has not made me like excited for the future of those characters. And I was just sort of like, Eternals was cool, but like I was kind of done with Marvel. And Shang-Chi was so good that it actually made me excited for Marvel again. And like, I did not think that was something that the movie could do. And I don't think it's perfect by any means. I thought there were some very serious issues with just the pacing. But man, I was like really blown away at how engaging that movie was, considering I had almost no desire to even see it.
Troy watched Shang-Chi, and he's like, all right, I think I could come back to Marvel. And then the Hawkeye trailer released, and he pulls his like Marvel comics out of the trash can and dusts them off. He's like, all right, guys, Daddy's home.
Yeah. I had to... When that trailer came out, I had to read the entire omnibus of Hawkeye in one sitting so that I could do a podcast episode for it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did notice that there was kind of some good timing with you releasing that episode.
Yeah, trying to ride the waves. It didn't work, by the way. It didn't work. Subpar views on that video.
Troy's like on fucking Adderall at like 2:30 in the morning, like trying to get through it all, just flipping. He's like, yeah, bro's a dog. All right,
bro. Yeah. All right.
I got
it. He's like, all right, I think I can like pump out 15 minutes for this.
Yeah.
So let's go.
It's a very good run of a comic book.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Like I said, that's what's funny is because you guys were talking about. I think you're both like excited for. What is it, Eternals, and it's like it does look really pretty, but I was more pumped by the Shang-Chi trailers than I have been. The Eternals one does look really nice and stuff, but I think it's one of those where like there's more to it than like what they're actually going to show.
The What If, Eternals?
Yeah.
I don't know why What If popped in my head. But I think that this show is losing me. There's more bad episodes than there are good episodes.
It's so weird, like, and that's I thought it started off. I know a lot of people weren't like super gun ho by the first episode, but I actually enjoyed the first episode, and then the second episode was even better. And then, so in my opinion, I believe we've hit the peak at the Doctor Strange episode, And then every week it's kind of been like a smaller descent down. And I'm like, man, I really hope they can like bring it back for
Well, I saw a
whatever they're gonna end
spoiler
on.
for it. If you guys want to hear what the spoiler is,
I think I know what the spoiler is, so
I mean, I'm fine if you.
all right, they do bring back that Doctor Strange.
yeah, I know. That's what I
Yeah,
know.
like there is a story happening, and like I don't know like what the other content stuff is or anything, but it's like, yeah, I think that it will end with like an Avengers moment with all of these characters from these different multiverses coming together for something.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like each episode would be better if they were just self-encapsulated episodes. Like, if they are just what if comics and they just exist out in the ether and we don't care about what they do, they don't have any continuity to them, and there's no like sequels to them. I definitely think this most recent episode is the most weakest one. Like, normally I can do a pretty good job of overlooking some of the like continuity issues, but then there was just a lot in this last episode where I'm like, really? Tony fucking Stark being super paranoid and being like, yeah, his business partner betrayed him, isn't going to like tell other people about this footage of Killmonger killing a bunch of people. He's not going to have some contingency for that. He's just going to confront him and that's it.
Yeah, and the fact that he only had like one mech robot, it's like, dude, Tony could mass produce those like himself. Like, I don't know. And the fact that you even managed to get close enough to Tony to even like stab him with the spear. And I was like, at any point he could have just taken the gun and shot Tony instead of the mech. Like, I don't know. While Tony's just standing there drinking a fucking whiskey.
On the rocks.
Yeah, always on the rocks. But yeah, I thought it was okay. Like, it's just nothing really happened, like in the entire thing. Like, it was just kind of like, all right, and then Pepper's like, I knew this guy was bad news, and then they're like, yep, let's work together to bring him down, and then the end. And I'm like, okay, I guess. Like, I guess that was something that happened.
I didn't even watch it, if I'm being honest. Which I don't know why I would lie about that. But no, Hillmonter is, in my opinion, the most overrated. He's Magneto light with no cool powers and not even a better backstory, So that's why I feel like anyone who's blowing him out of the water, it's like, yeah, all right, but I've already seen that for the past 20 years in the Fox X-Men movies, So I had no interest in watching this anyways, and then I have you guys telling me it's the worst episode ever, worse than that Peggy Carter bullshit. I don't think I need to watch it.
It's at least an alternate universe where it doesn't just line up with the Black Panther movie or the Iron Man movie. So at least there's that, but there's so many weird things that happens with the characters where it's like, yeah, why this? But I think it's just because they're trying to follow the continuity of the movies too quick to like. They're using these same characters from the MCU that we already know verbatim, so it's kind of hard for them to change too much, or I think you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're altering the formula, but they can't alter it all the way, so they can only like twist things to a certain degree without going too far.
Yeah, versus the What If comics where they can really go off the rails and they don't have to care about where things are.
Yeah, and it's like so weird because like I like the Marvel Zombies comics, at least like the first like one or two. It kind of trails off like once they start getting into the bigger numbers, but the original like 1 and like 2 and stuff, were like really good. And it's like we didn't even get to see like out of all the it's like, dude, Zombie Spider-Man's the coolest one in the fucking comics, and they like have him as the one that's like a fucking human, and I'm like, god damn it!
I
Like,
was
swinging around with his veins and shit is awesome in the comics.
I was very disappointed with the that was out of all of the episodes I was looking forward to was the zombie episode, because I thought that the Marvel Zombies helmet, written by Robert Hertman, by the way, fun fact, I thought it was going to be the best episode, and it was very weak. I didn't like dislike it, I guess, but it just I don't know, it just was bleh, you know? All right, so there's zombies and then they run away and then you have like this whole after moment towards the end with Vision, who by the way is like, "Oh, well, I have to pay for my crimes. By the way, I'm going to heal myself so you guys have no hope." And she's not blind, she's not dead or anything, so now you guys, have to deal with her without me being there. And I was the only thing stopping the rest of the zombies from coming in. But fuck you, I'm gonna heal myself to give you this stone. But I could have just left with you. Like there was there was absolutely no reason for him to do that. And I kind of felt like there were a couple times where that had happened, where it was like, there was no need for this character to do this at all. Like, also, you have, I don't know, the Vision feeding people to Wanda. Like, I was like, there's no need to do this. Like, why are you keeping Black Panther alive like, there's so many, I don't know. I thought it was,
Doesn't that happen? Doesn't something like that happen in the original Marvel Zombies of some kind?
not in the
I can't
first
remember.
one, I don't think. Like, maybe in one of the later ones.
It's been years since I've read the first Marvel Zombies, so I could be mistaken. I think I could have. I thought I remembered something about T'Challa being alive or kept alive for some reason, but I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember. My biggest problem is, regardless though of any of the individual things for that episode, is that it wasn't an episode. Like, I mean, it wasn't a self-contained episode. Like, they then introduced they did the same thing with the Hank Pym murder mystery episode. Like, it wasn't a full episode because they set it up for a future that then doesn't happen, because you have Captain Marvel and Captain America versus Loki. And it's like, oh, but we're not going to show you that part. It's like, oh, all right. I guess I don't get to see that part.
Yeah, I did like the Hank Pym one though. Like, I thought at least that was like interesting. I guess like it kept you like what's happening. I thought it was kind of weird that he had the yellow jacket suit.
Yeah,
but
because that doesn't make sense.
I did just look up the plot because I was right. It's been forever. Apparently, Black Panther was being kept alive by Hank Pym and being used as a food source.
The more you know.
Yeah. All right. Yes, I'm wrong.
Apparently, for a zombie version of Wasp, which would be the nicest thing Hank Pym's ever done for Janet.
Yeah.
He's like, back to the quantum realm with you.
Well, also, wait, so my problem too with the zombie thing is, what's kind of upsetting me about this episode is not the episode, the show itself, is the premise seems to be one choice changes the universe. But half the episodes, it has nothing to do with a choice. It's not like when Hank Pym went back into the quantum zone, like he made a choice and she's a zombie now. Like there was no choice. It was that something had happened in the quantum realm that caused her to be a zombie. She didn't make an alternate choice, or if she did, we didn't see it or know about it. And like the same thing with the Peggy Carter. Her choice had nothing to do with why the events were different. I feel like there was another episode that changed.
The one where Hank Pym kills everybody.
Yeah, like the choice was that Hope joined the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, what was it? Like, that was never a choice that she made, or not one that we ever saw or anything like that. Like, the thing is, if they're alternate realities, that's fine, but don't then give me the premise of that one choice changes everything, and then you never actually show me different choices.
Yeah, I think that they're trying to distill it down to make it simplified for people to understand, when in reality, it's exactly what you're describing, Troy. It's not the one choice. It's just there's a lot of different things that have happened in this universe, but not like so much to where it's not crazy different from the MCU.
Yeah.
Dude, the other thing I noticed that I thought was funny that made me question in that episode was when with Strange's little portal thing when they like decapitate the one thing with the portal, and I'm like, so couldn't he have just done that to Thanos in the actual Infinity War before he got the Time Stone and just killed him right there just by opening a portal and closing it on his like fucking head?
There were people who were saying that because in Infinity War they chop off a dude's hands with the portal, you know, like the one of the whatever the
Children of Thanos.
yes. I was trying to think of their helmet name, but it was Black something.
The
I don't
Black
know.
Order.
Yeah, all right. Anyways, you can edit that out just in post credits, you know. Yeah, you chop off a dude's hand with that anyways. Why didn't you chop off Thanos' hand with it, and then the Infinity Gauntlet wouldn't matter? There were people like when the movie came out who were saying that. As in that movie, they do it, and then they don't do it later on.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue semantics and be like, well, he's got the space stone and he could do something with teleportation, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, but when it happens in like less than 2 seconds, I'm like, unless he had the, like, if he had the Time Stone and Strange tried to do that, I'd be like, all right, well, he could just rewind time real quick or something before he's like fully dead. It's like a Reverse Flash when after Flashpoint where he's still alive and has the fucking hole in his head, but he's like vibrating so fast through time that he's like still alive, but he's like slowly dying, but he's just moving so fast that he's still keeping himself alive even though he has a hole in his fucking forehead.
God, Reverse Flash is a good villain.
I love him.
I'm excited for the Flash movie. I'm weirdly skeptical. It's the same way. I am skeptical about the Spider-Man movie because I'm not gonna lie. Like, we talked a little bit about the PS5 Insomniac shit that they're doing, and like the fact that Spider-Man 2 will have Kraven the Hunter in it. I'm blown away as it's something we never really have seen before, and he's a phenomenal villain. One of the greatest stories in Spider-Man ever is The Last Hunt. But Spider-Man 3, like, personally, I would prefer to see a really good Kraven story or a really good new version of Dr. Octopus or a new version of Green Goblin than just be like, hey, nostalgia. Hey, remember all these things that you like? Hey, and like that's the same with Flash, the new Flash movie that's coming out. It's like, hey, remember Michael Keaton Batman? Hey, member? You know, it's like it's all member berries, and I don't know. I don't think the nostalgia is alone is worth my hype. You know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, in Amazing Spider-Man 2, they did try to give us a new Green Goblin, and it just didn't go over well.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I'd be excited for them to actually do something useful with Electro versus what they did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I think that they're not going to go with their traditional counterparts that we saw in the other movies, and I think they'll probably build on them. And that's the thing that's exciting to me, because I would love for Willem Dafoe to not be in a Power Rangers suit and actually give us Green Goblin.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's why I think's interesting, and I almost think that's kind of the direction they're going to go, is it's going to be like them, but slightly different.
Yeah.
I guess so. It would be cool, even if like he wasn't in like you said, the Power Ranger suit. Even if it was just like the almost like the rubber like Green Goblin, like the actual mask and stuff with like the colors. Like I think that would even be pretty funny.
Troy, what's your take on how Green Goblin is Green Goblin? Is he wearing a rubber mask, or does his face kind of turn into it?
Both happens.
I know.
I think that personally, I love. I mean, it's been a long time since the mask was a thing, and I love Harry Osborn as a psychopath who, like, it's the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but they're both Mr. Hyde. You know,
Yeah.
like
They're both awful fucking people.
like he's evil, and then he turns more evil. Like, there's not a good side. So, like, I would love to see that, and I think William Dafoe totally could do that. And I mean, yeah, technically we've never seen another Green Goblin. I'm not going to give that Amazing Spider-Man 2 any. That's at best Hobgoblin. That's all I'll give that. All right, but Yeah, but I think that William Dafoe plus 30 years, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be different. So I mean, like, it could be good different, it could be bad different. I don't think they'll give us the Power Ranger suit though. I fucking hope not.
I hope not too. I mean, I know Marvel likes to lean into their comic book roots, so I don't.
Yeah,
really...
lately they've been like almost two. Like lately, comic book movies have been almost two comic book. Where you look at like Suicide Squad,
God, I
Peacemaker.
love it.
I'm sorry to tell you this, John Cena doesn't look good. Like he didn't need to look like that to be 70s comic accurate. You know.
But we got Starro though.
That was
Something
cool.
I never
Cool.
thought we would do. I never thought that would fucking happen.
Apparently, at one point, he did want it to be a brainwashed Henry Cavill, and then when they greenlit Starro, he's like, "Oh fuck, I'll never get this opportunity again. I'm making it Starro." But there was a time where he almost made it evil Superman, which, to bring it all the way back, not all the way back, but I don't know what the fuck Rocksteady is doing with this Suicide Squad video game. Because the Suicide Squad versus no one wants that. Like, even with the new Suicide Squad being like somewhat successful, financially, I don't know about that, but a lot of people like it. No one wants to play that video game. I don't want to.
I think we've talked about this in the past, is that, I mean, first of all, I don't know how Rocksteady, the gold star standard for superhero video games, has fallen so far. But the problem with the Suicide Squad game, aside from it being a multiplayer only game, I'm sure you could play it single player, but it's probably not designed for that. But it's just taking the A-list Suicide Squad members, and it's like, that's not the point of the Suicide Squad. The point of the Suicide Squad is you've got D-list fucking people no one fucking knows, and they fucking die.
Well, and the other problem they're gonna run into too is that shit should have come out like this year around the same time as Suicide Squad, and now it's not, and no one's gonna fucking give a shit about it when it finally does come out, because the movie will have been out for so fucking long by then that everyone will have moved on to the next thing.
Well, it seems like Rocksteady's taking the Square Enix approach. Let me release a Guardians of the Galaxy video game like 10 years after Guardians of the Galaxy has come out. So the only part about that game I actually am interested in is it seems like it's based off of the 2006 Guardians of the Galaxy with the Church of Truth, which could be cool.
Yeah.
But I have no faith. I'm not playing that game. I don't care if there's even good reviews. I'm not playing that game.
Here's the thing. I do think I will play the Guardians game. I'm not going to play it at launch, but I'm digging where it's going, and the only thing that I'm kind of not digging is Peter's design, but I think I can get over it because I do love the Church of Truth, and I love, like, just in general, how wacky they're getting, and they're just getting out there with different comic book stuff. I just wish they wouldn't have based the designs so closely on the movie designs, because even Jess, whenever she watched the trailer, she's like, why does Rocket now have a beard?
Yeah.
Dude, I also saw it comes out, I think, next month, but one of the next DC animated movies we're getting is Injustice. And I think it's probably one of the first DC animated movies in a while where I'm like actually kind of excited. Like, I'm actively like, oh dude, I can't wait for this to come out because I actually want to watch it.
Yeah, I still haven't watched any DC animated movies in a long time.
Well, after they did, I haven't watched anything since the Apocalypse War, where the Apocalypse War, like, you didn't know that the animated movies were a cinematic universe. And if you watch everything from Flashpoint to Apocalypse War, you're going to be like, why the fuck is DC fucking up their movies so bad? Because this could have just been the cinematic universe, and it would have, like, blown people away. I haven't watched anything since then. I know they've come out with, like, a lot of movies, actually. They're pumping out shit. And I don't know. I haven't watched a single one. As also, it's like, All right, Red Sun. Well, I've read Red Sun. Even Injustice. Yeah, cool. That's really cool. I've read tons of the Injustice comics, and I played both video games. So it's like,
That is true because a lot of them are like, oh yeah, let's just take famous DC comic and make it animated,
Well,
and then you have shit like the Killing Joke where the fucking animated movie sucked.
yeah, that's the problem. Is the last couple I've watched, it's like The Last Laugh or whatever, and like, it's like it didn't compare to the comic. Like they're basing it off the comic book, but there's so much cut out of it. Like they did Hush. I watched the Hush one. Dude, they butchered that storyline. Like so, like there's so much. Like Superman's not even in the animated movie. Like they cut out his entire role in the
Yeah.
fucking thing, and I'm just like, dude, like they tried to like mainline it, and it's like you can't do that.
that's why
Like,
I haven't watched the Long Halloween just recently came out, the animated movie for that, and I don't see them actually doing it right. So it's
Sure.
like I'd rather live in this world where I am not disappointed by it.
So
yeah.
I want to say for Long Halloween, they're doing. I don't know if both. I think they're doing two parts.
They
And
are.
I don't know if both parts are out yet. But that was my thing. Is I'm kind of like I was also very skeptical about it, and I'm like, well, the fact that they're doing it in two parts should mean that they could like cover a decent. Like they shouldn't have to cut a bunch of stuff out.
I mean, I would hope so because Long Halloween is a detective story and it's a very long, intricate detective story. So
Well, yeah, it's like the book for it is like this thick, which if you can't see it because it's a podcast, but I was holding up a decent size amount between my two fingers.
Yeah, you have the Long Halloween, and then you have like
Troy's looking at the bookshelf.
Yeah, and then you have Haunted Night, and you have Dark Victory, and then technically you have Catwoman Goes to Rome. So I mean, I don't know how much of all of that they're doing for the movies, but like technically the Haunted Night takes place in the middle of Long Halloween. So it's like I don't know. I don't see them doing. They're gonna cut bits,
Sure.
and I know they're gonna cut bits that I like, and that's what happened with Hush. And as they cut the whole, I don't know. In Hush, they didn't. My whole thing isn't Superman. Is that they butchered the Jason Todd shit because Jason Todd in Hush is actually fucking weird. Like there's the whole Clayface thing, and then you find out that Superboy from the events of like Infinite Crisis, like was bashing up against the wall of fucking eternity and caused a splinter, and that's how Jason Todd came back to life. All that stuff is in the comic for Hush. Of course, they didn't include any of that, as that's fucking ridiculous to have included. But I like that stuff.
That is DC comic bullshit. That's what that is.
And I love the DC comic bullshit. I love when they do absolutely off the wall bullshit, and they can't do that for these movies because they're for people who haven't spent their entire lives wasting away reading thousands of comics for the continuity.
Transitioning real quick to people who are doing good things in comic books. We briefly talked about Insomniac, but I figured Troy's waited this whole podcast to talk about Wolverine, so maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be cool. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Bye.
Now I'm like the thing is the Spider-Man game is so fun. I actually still think that the Batman games are better than the Spider-Man games, but it's as the Spider-Man games as adult as the Spider-Man game is, it's still Peter Parker. He's still like a very good human being at the end of the day, where the Batman games they go really, really, really dark. And Wolverine, at least what's already been said, is it will be rated M for mature. We're pretty sure it's in Manipur, which is like the most vile of terrible corrupted places in the Marvel universe. Like I want blood, I want crazy, terrible stories. If you read Wolverine comics, like the actual Wolverine comics, not Wolverine with the X-Men, but Wolverine, like his whole history, like the Daniel Way run, it's terrible. It's like not a single happy moment happens in his life. So I really hope that it's a super like morally corrupt story, and you just slice people in pieces. And I have absolute full trust in Insomniac that they will do it right.
I was like, I'm picturing it basically being like Grand Theft Auto 5 with Wolverine, and you're like running around, you're just shinking people and like walking down the street, like bubbing prostitutes and stuff. You're like bub, and then like you stab someone and then drag their body behind a dumpster and hide it, and do some like stealth like missions and stuff. And
Yeah, that's 100% what it's like.
I'm very interested because the Batman, they lighted around the city. Spider-Man has the greatest. The Insomniac Spider-Man has like the greatest traversal mechanics I've ever played in a game. Wolverine, and even like Ultimate Destruction, like you have him jumping, long bounds and running up walls like it's nothing. Wolverine can't do any of that stuff. So how are they gonna make you want to go from point A to point B in a big open world city? I think that's gonna be a bit
motorcycle.
Dude, I mean that could work. You know what would be fucking hilarious though, and I just thought of it, is at the very end of the game for Wolverine ends with Hulk ripping you in half and just throwing your legs, and then the whole credit scene is just you playing as Wolverine crawling on the ground back to your legs while the credits kind of roll. And that's just how, and you finally get to your legs, and then that's like when the game ends.
So I'm hoping that we do get Dakin in the game. That would be pretty great. Justin would love that.
I would.
Because Justin loves that gay boy.
I do.
Hey, he's bisexual, all right?
You're right, he is.
Justin.
Tadakin's a hole's a hole. Like,
yeah, he's a weird character. I actually don't like him, to be honest.
Dude, Troy, have you ever read? I only read like maybe like 6 or 7 issues of it, but back in like 2009, I think is when it came out. There was a comic called X-Men Forever.
No, I don't think so.
The art like was interesting, I guess, but the like Wolverine dies in like issue like 2 or 3, and all that's left is like an adamantium skeleton of him. And then Shadow Cat, for whatever reason, gets like one of his claws. I don't know why. It was very fucking weird, and I could not follow along with what was happening because of how fucking bizarre it was. And then I just lost interest in it because I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. I don't know why she has one of Wolverine's claws. I'm pissed that he's like dead, and it's only like issue 3.
Oh, shit! All right, yeah, I didn't read this, but I do know at least one of these which had the origin of the Sentinels, and yeah, it shows Logan, like his funeral and stuff. It was the art is very 90s for being a 2000s something. I remember not really digging this run at all.
So hot take, Troy, that you will probably find some sort of disagreement with. I don't think Sabretooth is very interesting.
So, let me tell you this. Have you read any of the modern X-Men comics?
I have not read any of the modern X-Men comics aside from the most recent Jonathan Hickman stuff.
Yeah, so the Jonathan Hickman stuff. What was a genius move that Jonathan Hickman did was when they created their new so for listeners who definitely are still listening at this point,
for sure.
Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, the mutants, like all the good guys and the bad guys, all sort of teamed up and basically were like, we have an island, we're our own nation, we make our own laws, fuck all y'all. And really early on in that run, they take Sabretooth and use him sort of as we will police our own, and put Sabretooth in like a wall-less, shapeless, sunless, mind void prison. And so that you can't even like visit him in prison. He's like in the center of the earth, and they just completely wrote him off. And I feel like no one cares. Like it's not a single person's like, hey, what happened to Sabretooth? No one's like, oh, it would be more interesting if Sabretooth was around. Totally fine. And he's the only... They never did that. There's so many villains that are still fucking around with shit, and they're always like, let's find an interesting way to, do something with them. Like, actually, right now they're doing a really cool thing with Legion, and I like what they're doing with
Well,
Legion.
I love Legion,
The
so
two Zorn brothers, if you know who they are, they're like
yeah.
Omega level. They're just following him everywhere, and the second that he slips up, they're gonna explode him. Because they're powerful enough to take him out. So he can go around and do whatever he wants, but he has like two personal guards that like are just waiting for the millisecond to kill him. But for Sabretooth, nah, let's just get him the fuck out of here. No one wants him. So I think Hitman agrees with you that he's not an interesting character.
I
I think
saw on Facebook, like, they advertised to me that I guess there's a Sabretooth comic that's coming out, like, next year or something like that, where it's, like, starring Sabretooth, so I guess he must get released.
At some point, yes, yeah.
it's probably just because Hickman's stepping down from the X-Men comics.
Yeah, and when he leaves, I will heap the main X-Men books, but I'm not gonna. Right now, I'm literally buying every single X-Men book for the entire universe. And he leaves after Inferno, and once that happens, I'm cutting all of my X-Men books.
And you're going to cut your budget down by like 75%.
No, because I buy every Batman book, so
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a small
like-
pond actually.
He's like, you gotta understand, that budget just gets reallocated to paper plates.
It's sad. It is. I feel.
but
it
yeah,
deeply.
like I wish Sabretooth was a more interesting character, and I'm struggling to remember if Daniel Way's run does anything with Sabretooth, but like it always just seems like he has one note and that's it. Like he doesn't have any like interesting parts of who that character is at all. It's just I want to kill Wolverine.
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
most
do it.
interesting thing they did was in Age of Apocalypse, which that run, he sort of switches sides. He starts off as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and then he like actually learns remorse, goes over to the X-Men, and has a full character arc. Like almost dies, and like finds out that like one of the other X-Men loves him, and like he becomes a actual full-fledged individual. But Age of Apocalypse universe is a separate universe, separate timeline, and
Yeah.
the lessons were not learned by our Sabretooth.
Wasn't he also on the Avengers for a little bit? Because as I was reading Rage of Ultron, he's on that Avengers team for a little bit, and I think it's just during that one run where the mutant team, the X-Men were on the Avengers, or there was a much more it was after Age of or Avengers vs. X-Men, I believe, or yeah, it was after that.
Yeah, I don't remember
Spaced
him.
out.
Yeah. I'm reading up on Sabretooth 1 that Justin just told me about, and seeing why the hell this is happening.
Because money.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's going to happen after the Inferno series, which is the end of Hitman, so I probably will never read this.
You won't have any reason to.
Yeah,
Hickman's
exactly.
going to move on to whatever else he's going to do.
He's going to
It's gonna be great.
Substat, which is super annoying. A good amount of comic book artists and writers are going to Substat, which is not Comicsology or Marvel Unlimited. It's a different, totally low budget bullshit. Like you pay $8 a week for them to send you 3 pages of their comic on a PDF format. Like, yeah, I don't understand. It's so that they get 100% of the money, I guess.
Oh, so it's New Image.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it was Image is super commercialized, but Image is also, you own it. They just pay for the distribution, so they're basically they're even taking the distribution money away. Like, I don't know. The people who are joining Substat, I do not have a favorable image of them right now.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds annoying, and
Yeah, I'm
I
not
was
joining it. I have no interest.
Yeah,
I
don't-
barely read the stuff that I have right now, so I'm not joining any of that.
But yeah, I was like, I don't really have anything else. I was like, do either of you have anything?
Well, I would have liked to have talked about Shang-Chi, but Justin, you're a fucking
Dude,
poor ass drunk.
I said so many times in the group chat that you could talk about it and I wouldn't give a shit. Like,
Oh
It's
no,
okay,
me and
me-
Matt talked about it. I just would have
Yeah.
liked to have done it for all 12 of your audience members.
You're
you
right,
know?
you're right.
Troy, it's okay. You and me are going to be back on in 3 months anyway, because that'll be when the next one is.
Yeah, I was like, you gotta understand, the main people who listen to the podcast, I believe, have seen Shang-Chi, so you wouldn't
Yeah.
be spoiling it for them.
Yeah,
Only
yeah,
me.
so, yeah. I do know I have one friend who doesn't want to go see it until I do a review for it, and I mean, I told him it's good, but apparently he wants me to break down the entire movie for him. So
Why wouldn't you just go see it? That's just, just let me spoil this whole movie for you,
I guess
so you can go watch
know,
it.
I don't know. So if Rich is listening right now, Rich, who you both might meet at my wedding, sorry man, I tried.
You get what you get, and that's what you get.
Yeah, you paid for this.
I don't really have anything else. I guess on an exciting news, I did get the final print copy of my game.
Oh,
That is
so-
exciting.
nice.
So I'll show that to you guys after we break from the podcast, because they aren't going to see it on the podcast anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited that Boss Battle is basically like one more email to my manufacturer away from, oh, yep, they're going to go ahead and get it made. All 500 copies, no take-backsies.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
then you get the final one, and then the box says Ross Battle, and you're like, God damn it, what am I gonna do with 500 Ross Battles?
He's
and
gonna
then I
change
get-
the whole hit starter.
And then I get the game back, and Justin sends me a text message with like what the first like card that's in the deck, and it's like, why is this spelt this way? And I'm like, motherfucker.
I'm like, yeah, dude, I thought it was really unique in your game that cleric was spelled with a K instead of a C. Like, that's pretty interesting. And you're like, what? And then you look at it, and you just rip the card, and you're like, ruined. And I'm like, well, the China demographic won't know the difference, so.
God damn it.
But yeah, no, I have nothing else. You know, I'm excited for Boss Battle, and I'm excited for Negative Space coming out soon.
I'm excited for everything that Troy does, because he's a big nerd and he is here for your comic book needs.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I have going for me is the podcast, which I don't know. Like, there's sometimes I put out videos and it's like, oh man, it takes, you know, it hundreds of views, and then I try to put in effort, like the Hawkeye thing, and it gives me like 4 views. And it's like, why am I even trying for you people? I don't know what do you want from me? I don't know.
I think if you just keep at it. I think that's the thing, is just consistency is what eventually gets you there. It's just you have to just keep doing it.
And unfortunately, it's like timing. It's like when, like for like the WandaVision and Loki and whatever, those like the heavy spoiler channels that end up being like the #2 like trending video, whatever. It's like those motherfuckers literally are the ones that wait up until midnight, watch the episode 3 times, and then throw together a video to get it out at like 5 in the morning, so that they're like one of the first spoiler videos or whatever for like that on YouTube before it's the following day and there's like 50 videos of it.
Or you're just a complete asshole. Like, what's that one video? The Hoardering. Do either of you guys know that one? It's this dude who's like a nerd with glasses sitting in his basement, and like he will do a 3-hour long video about why the Force Awakens raise a Mary Sue, you know, like stuff like that, or how I think Magic the Gathering. The reason I found out about him is the Magic the Gathering started using the word they instead of he, she, and he like threw a huge anti-trans rant at it, and every single one of his videos has like 200 million views. So it's like literally when the Shang-Chi trailer dropped, you Google Shang-Chi, and he's like the sixth thing is like why Shang-Chi's racist, you know? Like, so I feel like that's either you put a lot of effort into it to be the first, or you just be the most hateful, and that's how you get those engagements.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
just have
he's either getting the white supremacist demographic or is getting all the people who are hate watching the video.
yeah, and that's like 98% of the demographic right there. So
Yeah, everyone who follows someone so that they get shit on them is like, yeah, well, you're still following them. You know, like they don't know the difference.
man, yeah, I was like, that's right. Thank you everyone for coming. I know it's been three months late, but I appreciate.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming. You can pick up your gift baskets and your coats at the door, and I appreciate everyone listening, and I like having Matt and Troy on, and I'm glad they were both able to take times out of their busy days and be on the podcast. Well, yeah, busy days is Troy not reading comics and Matt not screaming at the manufacturer through email.
I have to scream because, well, never mind.
Because they're in China. They're in China, so they're so far away. Matt has to raise his voice in order for them to hear him.